Okay, I'm going to try something a little different. I never stand up here, and I never preach without notes. So wish me luck. Can you hear me? Is this microphone working? You can hear me in the back? Okay, good. Boys and girls who are receiving First Holy Communion, do me a favor. Please stand up so I can see where you are. Very good. All right, please be seated, and congratulations to you all. I've been thinking a lot about this day for you and trying to wrap my own mind and my own heart about what it means to receive Holy Communion. And the simplest way, and parents, forgive me for thinking along these lines, but I've been thinking about one of my favorite books or series of books of all time, and that is The Lord of the Rings. Now, the author, the guy who wrote, you like The Lord of the Rings? Yes. That's some good parents. Everybody else, F. So the author, the guy who writes this story, is a really, really devout Catholic. He went to Mass every single day. And so in his writings, this world that he creates, this total fantasy, he writes from the Catholic perspective, and there's a lot of Catholic elements to it. So what is the Lord of the Rings? Well, that's a big question. I'm going to give a really small answer. There's this really small guy named Frodo. I think he's only like 2.5 feet tall. He goes up to about my knee. And he lives in this place called the Shire. And the Shire is just, everything is great. The food is delicious. The people are friendly. There's very little drama. They live comfortably. They take big, long naps, and they love to play in the grass. They work in the garden, and that's about as hard as life gets for them in the Shire. And then one day, this wizard shows up into Frodo's life and says, the world needs your help. There is a dark lord who is threatening to destroy the entire world, and only you can save it. And the path is going to be perilous. There's going to be enemies. There's going to be people tempting you to stray from it. There's going to be orcs, and there's going to be winged things, and there's going to be mean people, but ultimately there's a dark lord himself that you are not powerful enough to defeat. But we can do it without you. And Frodo hears this message, this calling to an adventure, and he panics. Why me? Why don't they give the ring to somebody else? Surely somebody bigger or stronger than me. Why don't you take it? And Gandalf tells him, only you can do this. And he says to him, but it's okay. Remember, you were made for this time. And the task that lies before you is your task in this time. What will be other people's responsibilities is not for you to be concerned with. Your job is to focus on that part that you are to play in this tale. And so he sets off, and he has no idea how this is going to play out. What is he going to do when it gets hard? What is he going to do when he gets confused? Is he going to have enough food? How is he going to stay safe? Doesn't know. Is he going to die? He has no idea. And he sets off. Now, he sets off in a fellowship with friends. But eventually, those friends go in different directions, and it's he and one buddy, and they have to make their way to finish the task. And it's a hard, hard road. And they're hungry, and there's danger, and there's sleepless nights. They're afraid, and there's times when they lose hope. But here's the difference. You ready, boys and girls? You listening? Amelia's listening. There are these people that they call elves, but they're kind of like angels. They're really bright. They live forever. They have deep wisdom. And these angelic beings give some of their own bread that they call lembas bread to Frodo. Now, this bread doesn't look spectacular. It doesn't have icing. There's no chocolate chips. It doesn't even smell particularly good. Not that it smells bad, but it's just kind of, I think of like pasta, right? However, the smallest piece of this bread not only restores them to strength, it fills them with hope, gives them courage, and helps them persevere. And that bread alone is what carries them all the way through to the end of his task. And he no longer, once his task is complete, he no longer needs this bread anymore. And he goes off into what we would consider heaven. Now, what in the world does that have to do with your first Holy Communion? It is the case that God has made every one of you for a reason. None of you are an accident. And the world and the church need you. And they need you to play your part in the drama of the human story. And it is a drama that is filled with dangers, that is filled with uncertainty, that I can't tell you how it's going to end for you and what's going to happen. But I can tell you that there is a bread of angels that God has given to carry you through this task. When Jesus was telling the apostles, and they loved walking with him, kind of like Frodo loved walking with the wizard, because he was the wise one that gave them all counsel, that I am now ascending to my Father, but I send you forth with this commission, this mission. But I will not leave you orphans or abandon you. The Eucharist is one of and the main way that he keeps that promise. When you receive Holy Communion today, it's not going to taste like a birthday cake. There are no chocolate chips. It might even taste kind of boring. But do not be fooled into thinking that it lacks power. Because the very Spirit that carried Jesus Christ through his mission to persevere against all the people, the temptations of the devil, the religious leaders of his time that tried to push him back and get him to stop, the Roman soldiers that insulted him and put a crown of thorns on his head, and the mob that nailed him to a cross, what kept him strong so that he didn't lose hope and that he could persevere, that same Spirit, the Holy Spirit, comes to you in the Eucharist so that as you persevere in living out God's will for your life, you have a strength that without which you would never succeed. And not only that, but he keeps us. I think of the Eucharist in my own life. When I'm afraid and I feel very alone, I can sit in front of the Eucharist and God is with me. And I draw strength from that. Here in Psalm 23, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. You are at my side. Right there. When I am asked to make big sacrifices that I don't want to make, that hurts, but I know they're the right thing to do, I sit in front of the Eucharist and I look at the one who has sacrificed everything for me, and I trust him, and I find the trust that I need to do the right thing. When I'm guilty because I did something wrong, and I'm afraid that I'm not lovable anymore, I sit in front of the Eucharist and see the love of God that has not changed because of my sins, but beats for me and lives for me. And when I need hope, I find hope in him. When all seems lost and like I'm never going to make it, I sit in front of the Eucharist and know that just as the Father raised Jesus from the dead, that his death was not in vain, nothing that I suffer in life is ever outside of God's plan or wasted. And so the gift that you get today, boys and girls, is beyond measure. It's not going to look like much, but it's everything. It is every promise that God has made for you fulfilled. And I am so glad that at this early stage in your life, with so much that lies ahead, with the voice of God waiting to speak into your hearts that special mission that he has for you, you today will already have what you need to say yes to him when he calls. And that is my greatest desire, so that when this life is over and we no longer need the Eucharist, this bread of angels, we will be gathered safely together in God's heavenly kingdom at the end of our lives, because God has given us what we need for the adventure that is the Christian life. Read Lord of the Rings.